Okay guys, so I'm back with the last installment here of 3-gun stage planning from the last match at LCSA Gun Club in Brighton, Michigan. I am going to do stages 4 and 5 in one video, just try and speed up and get through this. I think the content's a little too boring to do one stage per video, so I'll figure out a different way to do the next match. But I do want to get the last 2 stages in just so you have the full match. And, and then we'll kind of figure out a new way to do it moving forward. So anyways, here's a diagram of stage 4. So you have bay 1 on the left and bay 2 on the right. So we started in bay 1 in box 1 with a shotgun. And you had to run shotgun here because you had the targets marked with C and with fly next to them are clay targets. So you have to shoot those with shotgun here. And the ones marked fly only fly up in the air when you knock down the steel popper that they're next to. So that's kind of interesting here. And then as we move to bay 2 on the right, we have to shoot pistol over there at the steel targets. And we could engage anything outside of the shoot house as soon as we stepped into the bay. So that box 1 is just kind of a general area. You couldn't move forward of that. And then you could use the pistol all the way through the shoot houses as well. But most people decided to switch to rifle to run the shoot house because we are in the ammo shortage and we were just trying to spread what ammo we were using around to not use up, a ton of pistol or a ton of rifle. And then it's fun to transition between the guns too. So this was a stage we could use all 3 guns, and that's how most people chose to run it. So we'll zoom in on bay 1 here. So I decided to shoot the flying poppers first so that I didn't end up having to do a reload in the middle of a clay being thrown up in the air and get a failure to engage. So I wanted to tackle those first and then reload and clean up the rest of the targets. I believe there was 16 targets in this bay, so you had to do a load 8 at some point. So what I did was shoot the flying poppers and then do a load 8 and then clean up the rest of the targets. And you'll see I missed the back left 2 steel plates. I just totally blew it. I was running through. I felt like I was missing something, but they just blended into the background and I didn't catch it and decided to leave the bay. So I did mess those up. But other than that, it was a pretty clean run. I missed one of the clay flyers, which was kind of a bummer, but I haven't shot those before, and so it's kind of a new skill, and so I was happy getting 2 out of 3. But the only way to speed that up would have been to shoot at the poppers that were launching the clays, and while waiting for the clay thrower to engage, shoot another target. So kind of do hit the popper, hit a clay on the ground, and then hit the flying clay. And that kind of speeds you up a little bit, but it's a little bit harder to execute. So maybe next time I'll try that and kind of show you the difference in speed. But I decided not to do that just because I haven't done this skill before with these targets. So I just wanted to focus on them and then move on with the rest of the targets. So I went from there, dumped the shotgun and ran to bay 2 on the right and pulled the pistol as soon as I entered the bay and engaged the 2 paper targets on the far right as I was settling in front of the Texas Star. And then I ran the Texas Star pretty well. I wanted to tackle that first just to get it out of the way. And I did the Texas Star pretty good. I got a little crossed up on the last 2 targets, but overall I was pretty happy with that. And then cleaned up the steel poppers 1 for 1 before dumping my pistol and going into the shoot house with my rifle. And again, I think I could have went a little faster had I not transitioned weapons and just did a reload and cleaned up the paper in the house with my pistol, but it was just more fun to run it with the rifle, honestly. So I ran through that, and then the only thing is you didn't want to forget to step out of the far door and hit the paper target behind the drum, and so that's kind of where you finish this stage. So overall, it was a fun stage. Got to use all 3 guns, got to try the flying poppers for the first time, and then the Texas Star is always a good time. And so overall, stage 4 was pretty cool, and we went from there to stage 5 on the rifle range. So here's stage 5, and stage 5, or our rifle range, we always have one stage there. All the others take up 2 bays. This one's just in the big open 200-yard rifle range, and then we have a berm at 100 yards and a berm at 50 yards. And then that's, we kind of do a longer stage here. So with this, box 1 is a simulation rooftop. And we were with the rifle there hitting the 200-yard steel and the 100-yard plate rack. And then we were stepping off the roof, transitioning between box 1 and box 2, engaging the paper on the left with the rifle, and then dumping that, picking up the shotgun, finishing into box 2, where we have the steel, the spinner, so a shotgun spinner with the circle targets around it are all clays. So a clay array, they were all on ground. They were all on the ground, so low clay targets. And then from there, you dumped your shotgun, and box 3 was a steel plate array that was up pretty close, probably 10 yards, 15 yards. And then the 2 silhouette steel targets at 50 yards. So you would finish up with the pistol over there. So with the 90-second time limit, this is a lot to get done in 90 seconds. And I was actually the first to go on this stage. And you'll see I fumble some stuff with my shotgun, and not thinking that timing out was really a possibility. I didn't move through the stage fast enough. And I ended up not even getting to the pistol part at the end. Come to find out, most people didn't finish this stage in time. I think we had 3 people in our group, and one of the other groups, I know it was only 2 or 3 that finished off all these targets. So I took a bunch of penalties here because I didn't shoot any of the pistol, and I didn't flip the spinner. So I took, I think, like 150 seconds worth of penalties here. It kind of really ruined my day scoring-wise, but I think a lot of people were in a similar boat. So with this stage, strategy-wise, from box 1, you just couldn't have your feet, any part of your body touching the ground. You had to be on the simulation rooftop. So I started with my rifle at full 6x power on my LPVO. And you'll see I take 5 shots to get those 3. I missed my first 2 shots and then went 1 for 1 once I had my hold right. So I was pretty happy with my 200-yard shots. And then I totally forgot about the plate rack and started to stand up, and then had to get back down and resettle to shoot the 100-yard plate rack. And that kind of threw me off, and I took, I think, about 12 shots to get through that plate rack. So that was kind of a bummer. So after I finally cleared that plate rack, I was able to step off, turn my scope power back down to 1x, and clean up the paper and dump my rifle and pick up the shotgun. So, I was fairly happy with the rifle. I wish I wouldn't have had as many makeup shots on the plate rack, but, that is what it is. I think if I would have remembered it and just smoothly transitioned from the 200 to the 100, I would have been in a little bit better place to run that faster. But I had to resettle, and it just, it kind of made those tougher than it should have been. So then I moved into box 2 for the shotgun array through the window. You had to do a reload here because you had 8 clays plus the spinner, and you start with 9 rounds. So what I decided to do was clear all the clays, get those out of the way, and then reload, and then go at the spinner with a full tube. At least 8 rounds in the tube. And you'll see I miss a couple of clays, so I have to do my reload a little sooner. And then I almost have the spinner flipped, and I think it's flipping over, and I start running to box 3. I start that transition, and then I realized that the spinner didn't spin. And so then I came back and knew I was going to need to reload to get the spinner moving again. And I fumbled a reload, and it was a huge mess. And then I timed out. So I didn't flip the spinner, and I never got to the pistol. So I'll include some footage of, what the pistol kind of looks like from afar with another shooter. But from there, I was going to transition to box 3. and I was going to clean up the steel plate array that was up close, and then take the 50 yards. It wasn't actually 50 yards. It was probably 35 yards because we're actually in front of the normal shooting line, but close enough. The longer steel silhouette plates, and you had to double tap those, or not double tap. You had to get 2 hits on those, so that would have been kind of a fun little pistol array there in and of itself. But again, I timed out. So the big thing here, again, most of the decisions were made. It was really just when you were going to reload your shotgun, and if you could get that spinner flipped. That was really the big thing. And not flipping that spinner is a 30-second penalty, so that was kind of a big one. But again, this was a fun stage. I like having to reach out and touch something a little farther, since the rest of our bays are all just in close CQB style bay shoots. So this one's always an interesting stage, and they do a good job of putting some stuff in to make it interesting. So that's stage 5. Not, again, too much to plan in either of these two. Just some shotgun reloads, and then again, my general philosophy is to pick whatever the hardest target is and engage that first or as soon as possible with as much ammo as possible. So spinners are always going to be a key thing for me, as I'm learning how to spin them over faster, and then longer shots, as well, also take a little bit more consideration. But there it is. So that's last month's match. So that's April's match in 2021, and we've got another match in a couple of weeks now, and it's going to be kind of interesting with a PDW class that they're going to run for this one match. So if we replace any one of our guns with an AR pistol, or like a shockwave shotgun, or a pistol caliber carbine, those are going to be in your own classification called the PDW class. So that should be cool. If I can find some 300 blackout ammo, I'm going to probably run my AR pistol, a little 8-inch AR 300 blackout pistol instead of a rifle. And so that should be kind of cool. And but anyways, I'll figure out a new way to do these videos so they don't run as long and as boring for next match, and we'll keep pumping them out. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Tell me where I could be better. Anything that could make the content or my shooting better would be appreciated. See you soon.